Congresswoman Chellie Pingree joins me now from Capitol Hill, along with Ruth and Bhagwati, a former Marine Corps captain and executive director of the Service Women's Action Network. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And Congresswoman, let me ask you first, what is the state of play of the bill? I know there were hearings on the Senate side that Senator Gillibrand conducted. You have held these hearings on the House side. What has to happen next to get the Ruth Moore Act passed by Congress?
Well, we're very enthusiastic about this bill. Senator Tester has a companion bill in the Senate, and just this week we had a hearing in front of the Veterans Subcommittee. I think it got a very favorable response. Chairman Miller, the actual chair of the Veterans Committee, and the ranking member Mike Mishu were there. So that's very positive. They're planning to have a markup of it relatively soon, and we're just working on our goal, which is to negotiate the language to get it to the place that we want, and we have high hopes for this moving forward. The Congress's level of awareness of what should not be an issue that our military patriots have to face has been raised tremendously over the last couple of years, and many of my colleagues have introduced bills. This one, we hope, is starting to move forward, and it couldn't have happened without the tremendous advocacy work of SWAN, but also without courageous people like Ruth Moore, who have the guts to come forward and tell their story. Not easy by any measure.
Not easy at all, and here you are today. Appearing on television and talking about it, Ruth, is not a simple fact. Talk to me about what you experienced and why you think this is necessary.
I experienced a culture in the military that wasn't conducive to helping survivors. And I kept secret for many years because I was uncomfortable and I didn't want to really share it. So when I started seeing the public opinion change and I saw Representative Pingree's legislation come forward, I knew it was time to talk and to share my experience.
And Anu, one of the things that was so shocking that I heard at the Senate hearings was that so many of the convicted offenders returned to their units. An astounding percentage. Just returned to their units under the military code. I never understood this. How can you commit a sexual offense and not be drummed out of the military?
Well, the amazing case was the recent Aviano Air Base case where a general overturned the sexual assault conviction of a junior officer, a lieutenant colonel. So he had been convicted by a jury in a court-martial.
I think it was unanimous.
Yes, and the general basically looked in and said, "You're free to go." And so
is that being reviewed by the Pentagon now?
Yes, and Secretary Hagel completed his review, and amazingly, it prompted a proposal by the Secretary of Defense to change a portion of military law. It's not enough, but it's a good start.
Congresswoman, are you finding that the Pentagon under Chuck Hagel, and I know he hasn't been in office very long and he had a rocky confirmation process, but do you have their attention and are they responsive to your requests?
You know, they absolutely are. I don't think they've gone anywhere near far enough, and they say, you know, we have a zero tolerance policy, and there is nothing like a zero tolerance policy going on out there. But you have increasing members of Congress who are actively engaged in this conversation. Recently, a group of us were over at the Pentagon meeting with the vice chiefs of staff. At all levels, they are saying, we're trying to change the culture, we're trying to change the training, we're trying to change our ability to talk about this. And part of what they need to do is change the number of prosecutions and laws. As Anu said, and you've heard, the military code of justice does not exactly follow civilian law, and there are reasons it's different, but civilian law was updated a long time ago to deal with how rape victims should be treated, privacy, a whole variety of issues, and it is time that the military changes that code of justice, but also has some real prosecutions so that people can feel safe coming forward and telling their story. These are people serving our country in the military, and it happens to men and women, but the culture has been, don't you dare come forward, you may lose your job, the paperwork will be lost, you may be branded as mentally unstable and interfere with your unit cohesion. I mean, all kinds of things that have been drummed into people, and these are hardworking, brave, courageous women and men who are serving, who shouldn't have to serve under these conditions.
And the Congresswoman makes a very good point, Ruth, that men also experience these sexual assaults. I remember the testimony of one man who said that he was shamed because his fellow seamen, I think that they were, I think he was in the Navy, they all felt that he was complicit, that he had invited the attack rather than being attacked.
Yeah, that's a really common idea or scenario that men have. When I went to D.C. last time, I had a male TSA agent following me around the airport and sharing that he was a survivor, and he thanked me for coming out.
He was aware of your testimony.
Yeah, it was really empowering.
What an impact you have had.
Yeah.
Anu, that must be a very, at least until you get this legislation passed, that must make you feel as though you're really accomplishing something as you represent your fellow former officers.
We do feel like we're accomplishing a lot. We have 125 fellow veterans right now on Capitol Hill sharing their stories about being sexually assaulted while they were in all the branches of the military. And they are doing it, they're taking that courageous step so that others don't get assaulted and harmed.
Are there retaliations, or do they have to worry about their safety, those who are still in the service in the unit?
Absolutely. There's still a huge fear of retaliation. We have a helpline. We get calls from all 50 states and even overseas, even in operational areas where people are afraid to report because their commanding officers or fellow members of their unit will not support them. And they see that so few cases are prosecuted, that occasionally even convictions are overturned, and that doesn't inspire much faith in the system.
Well, Anu Bhagwati, thank you so much for what you're doing. Ruth Moore, you have stood up so bravely. There will be a bill, and it will have your name on it, and you will be thanked by generations of military officers, men and women, and the rank and file. And Congresswoman Pingree, thank you very much. We'll follow up on this. I hope you'll come back.
Thank you very much for what you're doing for us.
You bet.